I mean, is
Oh,
it
plenty.
It's with you at
Plenty.
all times.
Yeah. I mean, I was always offbeat centric anyhow. I always was into that Hugo Burnham throw in that floor tom and just knock everybody off balance kind of, you know, pocket exclamations. You know, you would put that like as an exclamation inside of a otherwise fairly normal pocket and then just drop this. Well, I mean, they said that about Elvin Jones too. He would drop a bomb or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, you may hear my little, my natural, I don't want to say natural inclination for this whole interview, but my natural inclination is to drop those little off-pocket bombs. And then I probably weave and bob through, you know, it may be a time signature Ian brought in or a time signature Mike brought in on those, you know, on those albums that weren't my first choice as a pocket to groove out to, but I found my way through it in a way I could sink my teeth into it and enjoy it, you know. Well, there's some tracks were toured, were you know, were road battle hardened, and then there were other tracks that were very probably didn't get to play. Like No One Gives a Hoot About Faux Ass Nonsense didn't get played out live. I know we keep talking about that track for some reason, but like Stupid Puma and Pantless were salvage songs from Ian's previous band, Rocco Rocco. And then I know Dick Suffers was road tested. Rollerblade Success Story had very little battle hardening on the road.
Yep.
Repeat Defender got played out quite a bit. Tokyo got played out live a little bit, but it was a newer one too.
Yep.
Don Cab 2 was recorded in early 1995, so it didn't come out until later that year, but all the writing would have been done in 94 and late 93.
Yeah.
So a year and a half again.
Yep.
You know. At the White Room Studio in Detroit, Michigan, yes, downtown Detroit. That record, we made the conscious choice to invest in a few extra reels of tape, maybe 2 or 3 extra reels of tape than we normally would have allotted for. And our strategy on that record was to have optional completed usable takes to pick through, you know, the best version, to really get our heads around like which one was best. And then if we had to lop off a tailpiece and attach it to a beginning that was otherwise great for the first 2/3, we would do so. That maybe happened on a couple of tracks, but I think there were tracks where we were able to just pick the best one of two or three versions, and they didn't need any edits, but we were still glad that we had 3 options to choose from, which was the best take. And I thought, I found that relieving and comfortable to work that way, to know that you know you put your best foot forward and you had at least 3 versions to pick from each song then.
Right.
You know, instead of going like, well, we're out of tape, I guess we're gonna have to work with this one that we got down. You know. So I like that, and we did that on that record. I think I experimented with a few different snare drums, but I think I ultimately stayed with this for the most part. I think the song from the Desk of Elsewhere Go had a different 13-inch snare drum. I think it was, I can't even remember. I used to have it in a journal, what I used on what tracks on that record, but that got stolen out of a van, smashed window, and whoever smashed the window and stole, they chucked 2 $1,500 laptop computers over their shoulders to get to my cassette tapes and an address book, where they're the only things that were stolen. And in that address book, there was a little journal of all of the stupid details about every little last thing I did on the recording session for What Burns, and I never made a journal ever again after that. Okay, that was a sample on one of those little toy sample gizmos from that were popular in the late 90s that are called yak backs. I just did a sample of playing the record at the very end of Don Cab 2. I sampled the 5-beat, and then Al recorded it through the little yak back toy, and then I sequelized the beat for the intro to Don Cab 3, and we splice it right together, the original to the sequel. I did help a little bit with the very end of one little guitar lick on the end of June Is Finally Here. The Ian was very cooperative with performing, and that was nice. And then when we wrote that song in the rehearsal studio, I think I suggested a few things that probably the song probably wouldn't have ended up the way it did if I hadn't have suggested them. But I mean, they're all collaborative efforts all the way around. I mean, totally. All the songs in that album. And standout tracks that I like June Is Finally Here a lot. I like. See, I got working titles going in my brain, and then I forget the christened operating titles versus the working titles.
Delivering groceries is a popular one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun. I played a little guitar. I actually played a little guitar passage in the studio on that one. Pat's even back on that one.
Yeah.
Pat, the bass player from Poor Respect, comes back for that one.
Very cool.
So yeah, so actually, What Burns is the original lineup again, technically. I mean, if you are interested in connecting all those dots.